So, thank you very much, Irasima. In a minute, I want to go to what Alan and Rinku have been talking about, which is really a change in values and a change in thinking of the American public. But Lisa, it seems that to implement the kinds of programs you're talking about, we also need a change of thinking. I've heard people say that, well, maybe not everyone in this country deserves to have a house. You know, maybe we can't think along those lines. So in terms of your strategy, asset building, and asset building linked to getting people out of poverty, which I think is what you're suggesting, how do you begin to shift the thinking in the country so that people begin to buy into this kind of policy? And can you give us some examples of how this has worked effectively in communities?
Let me try. I think in some ways, we sell ourselves short if we think too small. It's not only moving poor people up, it's securing everybody. And I think this is a good political moment to make this case. It's stocks and flows. We absolutely are driven by wages. So what you're saying is correct, but if we stop at minimum wage, we won't advance. The stocks are important. Critical to that is our healthcare system and our social security system and the core elements of our social insurance system. Those are part of the stocks. But the other stock, and here's where I really do think we can move, the other stock is what you own. We are going to live longer. And women, we're going to live a lot longer. We will work. There'll be a piece of our life that we can't work. And it may be 30 years. So part of the stocks, so yes, not everybody can own a home. We live in New York, we certainly know that. But where's our stock? And that's the other piece of the policies for working families. So we've been asking, what's the stock that will add to college savings? You know, and one of our answers is, couldn't we start saving at birth? If we had the first $500 as a birthright, couldn't we be adding to that so that you get to 18 at, you know, and you have $20,000 to actually do this? What's the stock? It's not only getting into a house, but it's how do we get workers in these lower wage jobs, the 75% of the economy that doesn't have a college degree. Their wage may be, for the next 30 years, not something that we can put on a racetrack. And so how do we add to that? What are they? How do we make sure that $5,000 a year is going into an investment account that will grow to a $200,000 stock? That's the questions I think that we ought to be asking. I mean, you asked me to give you an example, so let me build out the child account example. I think the Ford Foundation did research over the last 5 years, which looked at citing examples of low-income families trying to save for their kids. It's even different than saving for yourself to get into a home or start a business. And what they saw was some similar things. It's a little less, but families would save and save toward, particularly inspired by the goal of college or by the goal of opportunity. And what we're seeing is that, and my research shows, is that the industry, this conference has the word alliance, there's an industry that has a huge black eye right now, which is Wall Street. And yet they're the only place that can invest money legally. For us, and there are different things other than credit default swaps that they can do with our money that would actually build wealth for all of us. So I think I'll put those things on the table as part of the kind of policies we want to think about for working families.